Friends Are Everywhere podcast, where me and my co-host have a frank and light-hearted discussion with some of the people who've become our friends during our travels over the years. Hopefully this will provide an honest and sometimes enlightening insight into our lives as well as theirs, as we all just try to negotiate new and interesting cultures. And even if these insights aren't always forthcoming, we might be able to provide a humorous perspective to lives outside of our home countries. Stay with us and let's see.
Seems like we're okay today.
Yeah, looks like we're good. Let's start this. Let's get it going.
It was never danceable. We had to sit down and listen.
Yeah, not for the club. no one's getting up and like.
No one's getting up, that boy.
Yeah.
You just had to sit down and go like.
And think.
Yeah, I understand.
All right, so welcome to My Friends Are Everywhere. Great. I have with me again my co-host Ray and Tony.
Hey.
Welcome, Ray. So, are they marching on the streets of Guangzhou?
Hell no.
No, not marching down in the streets of Guangzhou for against racism. No, and injustice. No, not in Guangzhou.
Not in Guangzhou.
Nah, not Guangzhou though. Well, no. You know, maybe. Go on, Ray.
No, I wasn't going to say anything.
You know,
deep breath. I just took a deep breath.
I know you took a deep. That was like Guangzhou. The world is changing supposedly
PTSD.
Outside, but Guangzhou definitely is not.
No, not at all, man.
Not even slightly. But yeah,
I was out. Sorry, I was going to say I was out last night, and who was it? So I think someone was asking me, like, yeah. So what do you think of Guangzhou? My response was Guangzhou. Like, there's a bleep added in there. Like, I'm not feeling it. But apparently it's not meant to be too bad. But I went out last night. The place was dead.
Oh, okay.
Dead as a doornail on the Saturday. So what can I say?
I was having a conversation with one of my colleagues actually, and I said, oh yeah, my friend's down in Guangzhou and he wants to leave because it's so racist. And she said, what racist? Chinese aren't racist. I was like,
that was a face, boy. That was a face, like, really?
Well, Ray, she said it. She said
That's
Chinese
fine.
aren't racist,
That's
so
fine.
it
That's
must
fine.
be so. So that's it.
Yeah, I've heard that one before. That old chestnut.
Yeah, well, she said it, so it must be the way, Ray.
It must be the way. It must be the way.
Exactly.
I must be mistaken.
Yeah, you must be mistaken.
A couple of thousand other people must be mistaken as well.
Hey, man.
But hey, what can we say?
Disillusion.
We're all living in that little part of the matrix that no one else is living in, isn't it? So what else can it be?
And I think that's it, though, isn't it? So here's the world. This is the world people can live in. Like, a world can be created for them. A fabrication of a world can be created, and they cannot see outside of that world.
Yeah.
Not because sometimes they don't want to.
Yeah. The vision is completely obfuscated, where people, it's not their own, perception, or it's not what something is blocking their vision, and they're not meaning anything by it. It's just what they think they live is what they think it is.
But it's not even just something's blocking their vision. Something's blocking their vision intentionally. This is not an unintentional. What is it? This unintentionally, it's being blocked by, I just don't know. No. Establishments, governments, they use citizens' ignorance.
I'm not going to get. Yeah,
and then they can block their vision
into it, but I get it. Yeah, I'm not.
But you understand what I'm saying?
But I understand. I completely understand.
It's intentional. Like, the intentionality of governments, institutions, is to create worlds for other people in which to exist, and they don't want them to see outside of these worlds. because it works for them. Because it works, it actually forwards their agenda. And so this is the way that governments and these institutions work. So when my colleague said basically that, yeah, there's no racism in Guangzhou, in her mind, whichever's been created for her by the government and any of these institutions, there is no racism for her. It just takes someone to step outside and say, oh yeah, there's quite a bit of it. What are you going to do, Ray? It's the way it goes.
For sure, 100%. It is obviously behind some form of sort of like veil that so some people don't see it. Some parts of the veil are absolutely opaque to the point where it's an absolute shield and no one sees it, and then there's parts of it that are thinner for others and not even there for some. So it's, it is what it is. But if there, then obviously, like I've been on the blue pill. I've been on the blue pill alongside quite a few other people.
I know, but that reality is not created for you, Ray. They're not creating a reality for you. That's what I'm saying. They don't have an agenda for you. So they will not create anything for you.
No.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
This world now, the coronavirus has been sidelined, apparently. So that was yesterday's news. And what's today's news, Ray?
How has it been sidelined?
Well, it's been sidelined.
By the way,
well,
for monetizing purposes on the big YouTube, you're not supposed to mention the thing.
Whatever, man.
Has been the incident that has been plaguing the world for the past few months or whatever.
For real? Is that a thing?
That's a thing. That is a thing. So you could have a video or anything on there that could be monetizable, and the minute that thing is mentioned, they say nope. I have no idea why, but that's what they're doing. So there's a certain level of censorship going on YouTube as well at the moment with that. So I spend a lot of time on YouTube, and there's a lot of people that will have opinions or talk about certain things or whatever, and that they say if you mention it, algorithm picks it up, says nope, you're not getting any money from this if this makes a lot of money. So you might have 60 billion views on it. So I don't get none, homeboy.
Hey man, institutions, what are you gonna do? You don't control it. You don't control it.
Yeah, of course.
Don't control the platform. They do what they do.
It's just a point to let you know that that's what is possibly going to happen. But anyway,
that's life. You can't hide from the truth, no matter what. No. If they don't it's not about money. Yeah. So what? Enjoy it. Yeah. Simple.
Fine. Information is information.
Exactly. If we're about the actual propagation of information, and a platform or some institution wants to stymie that proliferation of information through threatening people financially, because that's exactly what normally happens, isn't it? They always threaten these institutions, and governments will always threaten financial security to actually make certain that certain voices are not heard. But I don't care. It's fine. Coronavirus has been sidelined for now. And what's it been sidelined for?
Well,
we know what?
Universally, there's one hot button topic at the moment that a lot of people are jumping on, including a lot of celebrities. And it's happened in the US. So we talk about, at one point I remember Mr. Donald Trump spoke about the treatment of black people in China, in particular in the city where I live. However, something has happened in the US once again, and he has been remarkably quiet about it. In fact, he's not even just been quiet. He has asked for the militarization of his police to, what's the word he used? To, oh gosh, he said, you've got to, the term that he used, I can't exactly remember. He said that you've got to sort of like just completely overwhelm them in terms like he was some massive military leader from years gone by. I think he wants to go down in history.
Here's the thing. I would always say this. Like everybody always wants to put a face on an issue. Everybody always wants to put like some evil in a face of evil in front of everybody. When in reality, the whole system is rotten. It's not one person. Donald Trump is not the issue.
No, he's not. He's
400 years. This thing has been going on for 400 years without him.
But the way he's discussing it is, you can see trying to hold up that, obviously prop up that system that has been holding people down for those hundreds of years.
Well, of course. Why would he not? I don't get it. Why would he not want to prop up the system? The system has helped him.
It gave him billions. Yeah.
Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Well, what? Of course it has helped him immensely. So yes, of course he wants to prop up the system that has been helping him, his forefathers, immensely. Of course. He doesn't care about the injustice. It's not his case. He's the American president. Is he about injustice? Is he about caring about injustice? No. He's about power, and it's about propagation of power all around the globe. That's what the American president is about. So, yeah, what? Well, look, I don't believe it would have mattered to whomever it was.
Sorry.
Yeah.
He wants to dominate
you found
the protesters.
Okay, fine.
Dominate. He wants to dominate everyone.
Fine. Words, whatever. Yeah, I want to dominate. I want to, what is it? I want to get a mask and a whip, and I want to start, what is it? And I want to do a bit of BDSM or whatever the hell it is. Yeah, he wants to do a bit of BDSM. Yeah, fine. He wants to do lots of things. So what? It's just words. It's all bullshit. It's all nonsense. I don't give a damn. 400 years of injustice. Doesn't matter whose face is on it. You know what I'm saying? Donald Trump is not the poster child. Yeah, he's not the poster child for. So he's not the poster child for injustice in the US. It's not him. The USA is the poster child for injustice in the US, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So he's just a face that people can actually like throw tomatoes at. You know how it goes. Oh, boo, boo, boo. But the real issue is way deeper than Donald Trump and the nonsense he says, to be honest.
Yeah.
Realistically, isn't it? And is this the tipping point? Because we've been here before, right?
So many times. So many times.
Is it the tipping point?
Yeah. So look, I was speaking with a colleague yesterday, and he was asking me about my opinions on it and whether it means anything to me. And I was trying to explain to him, from my point of view, it means something to me because I looked at it in universal terms, in that it doesn't matter what happens to people that look like us, because in this system, universal system, we are technically at the bottom of the fruit tree. Everyone else is either climbing up that fruit tree quiet, and some are actually eating the fruits off of the branch, definitely. However, for us, we seem to be stopped from climbing that tree. And it doesn't matter what happens with people that look like us universally, because no one really cares about it. In terms of what's going on in the US, it's happened on more than one occasion. And at the moment, it's just now that people seem to have found voice to say that they don't want to see it happen anymore. But give it a few more months, probably it's going to die down, and we'll be back to square one again, where everyone is pretty much just letting life go by and not really taking much, paying much attention to anything going on around it until it happens again, because it will happen again.
So that was eloquently put. So it's not the tipping point in your mind. We'll see.
No,
we will see. We will see.
Oh, I'd love for it to be the tipping point, but no, I don't see it being the complete tipping point at the moment.
So, what needs to happen then? How do you overthrow injustice? And I'm not even just talking about for the US. I'm not even talking about just for the US. I'm talking about on a worldwide scale. Because it's not just the US that has injustice within its system. So think about it. There are places like Brazil. I think they were protesting in Australia. So there's lots of places. The UK, of course. There are lots of places that injustice for people of color is systematic.
It's a universal thing.
So
it's a universal
what will be the tipping point then, Ray, in your opinion?
Things are so intertwined in the way that people will be placated at some way, on some level. So you hear about, like, don't you see like those guys on television and stuff like that, and whatever. And it's like just that a few faces on television seems to placate people. If you understand, you get people in the entertainment industry or whatever it is who are being pushed to the forefront. But it's got to be deeper than that. There's got to be a want for people to no longer see themselves being placed at the back of a queue.
So are you talking about people of color?
People of color, yeah, of course.
I know, but obviously, people of color are fed up of this way.
But then it cannot just be that we're going to talk about it. It has to be something done. If you're talking about things politically, then people of color have to try and find a way to get politicians to understand. Now, if you're going to do it peacefully, then it has to be a way where you talk with your money. It has to be a way that you talk by voting en masse. Now, a lot of other minority groups in politics have got what is known as a voting bloc. Typically is where a group of people who have a general consensus choose to wield their power by showing that they can all vote together to show that someone can get that vote. So it essentially become the kingmaker, because we know that a lot of these people, it's all about power. You want that power? If we become the kingmaker, then we choose what policies go in or what policies go out. That's how especially it works in America. And I'm still waiting to see, like, when are you going to vote en masse as a bloc? Pharmaceutical companies, that's what they do. They lobby. Essentially, it's a voting bloc. I don't want to make it about this issue, but Jewish people vote as a bloc. Especially if any issue comes up, something is done. Like, they have got a powerful lobby, and they can change that policy. You've got the gay community do the same thing as well. It's about time. If we're going to stop seeing things like this happening, it's about time, especially in America, that they vote en masse in a bloc. In terms of universally, then it has to be a financial thing where you could bend governments. If you find a way to bend the government to do what you need to do, the only way to do it is through finance. Through finance, you keep that money, and it is technically speaking, once again, voting en masse in a block. You completely keep your money until someone does what you want them to do. You want this, then you do what we ask you to do.
Well,
if you're talking about
definitely.
Yeah,
I agree.
Because obviously, my answer is an all-encompassing long answer. It's
I
not
get
a
it.
simple one answer.
No, I get it. It makes sense. It makes sense. Obviously, the bus protests in the States.
What I'm referring to are the Montgomery bus boycotts that took place in the 1950s and were used as the catalyst for the civil rights movement. They also showed that if you economically make things difficult for organizations, they will change.
Where they didn't get on a bus for a year. That's how long it took. It wasn't like, oh yeah, we're going to stop taking these buses for a month. No, it was a whole entire year. They said we're not getting on a goddamn bus until this happens, until change is made. So it's hard choices are required, obviously. So choices that are very difficult and maybe very uncomfortable are required. I know that there's a lot of talk around, so I've heard this, like a lot of talk about, finally the white majority in America are listening. Suddenly they're walking, they're marching with us, and this is the change that is required. Because now that they're listening, this is what we need. What do you think about that? What do you think about that? Is that the change that's required?
I stated it before and I'll state it again. All right. What's going to happen is you get one or two faces. So basically, it's all about the visuals. Once they start seeing one or two more black faces on television, kind of placates them. Oh, look, see, things are getting better for you.
What do you mean? There's already black faces on TV.
No.
I don't get it. I mean, you need to explain that more because there's already black faces.
Well, obviously, you know what, Ken. I'm going to explain it. Just hold your horses on that.
Hey, man, someone's got to hold people accountable, bro.
No. Listen. I'm not gonna. No. Listen, I'm going to explain myself. I'm not going to leave it just there.
Good. Let's hear it.
All right. So please, you don't need to sort of like rush me on what I've got to say.
I am rushing you because you haven't got time. You've been speaking for a long time. God damn it. Come on, be succinct. Change. Make it happen. Let's go. You know you're on a podcast. You do need to speak. It's not a conversation, right? Are we frozen? No. All right, let's hear it.
We're not frozen.
Let's hear it.
Basically, what it is, it's the same thing as always. Is once people see a few more entertainers, or maybe one or two faces that are going to say what they need to hear them saying, they feel that that there is some form of change. Generally, what happens is a few policies get changed, maybe one or two things, and they show that one or two people are benefiting from it, and everyone seems to think that everything has changed and everything has gotten better. The difference being is that those people who are walking right now, who aren't affected by it, once this is all over and they think that everything it has gotten better for the people, do they keep fighting for it? No, they don't keep fighting for it because they don't have to worry about it. They go back to their houses, wherever the fuck that is, right? And the people on the ground, the people who it is affecting, who it constantly affects, still have to live through that. And they seem to always forget that, and they seem to always allow it to happen before something else happens again, and then it kicks off one more time. Because all that's happening is you've got a lot of people who are marching, and don't get me wrong, there are quite a few of them who actually do believe in it. But all too often, there's also other people who are using some form of fake concern to show that they were walking there, because it's all about media at the moment, to show that they are walking there. And then once it's done, they go back. They don't have to worry. You've placated whoever it was who was marching for a little while, telling them that things have gotten better. Things haven't gotten better. things haven't gotten better.
I think
People
it goes,
still live through that.
yeah.
And
Okay.
it goes back to what you were speaking about earlier, that people walked to work for a year to protest what was happening in terms of having to sit at the back of the bus, the civil rights and stuff like that. And I don't think America's really got much further than where it was there. It hasn't.
It hasn't got further.
And people seem to have forgotten that, and seem to have accepted the fact that, like we could see a couple of more faces. There's a little bit more freedom being gerrymandered. Their voting rights are still being impinged on. If you could imagine the greatest democracy in the world, and their concerns are not taken in. They're still being killed disproportionately. They're still being imprisoned disproportionately. They're still being, the areas that they are given are still underfunded disproportionately compared to anyone else. And they seem to want to accept it. Now, don't get me wrong, there are opportunities where they can make better. But if they are prevented by the financial institutions that are there to benefit everyone, then how are they supposed to do it?
I think generally oppression just changes. It is not a static thing. So it changes with the times. It is not something that stands still. So the oppression that existed maybe in the 60s just changes to fit the noughties, the 2000s, the 10s, whatever you want to call it. So yes, it just changes. Yes, it just changes. It just moves its position. So that's all it does. It just changes. It's like a camera position. Oppression just changes camera position, and then just takes and just actually reflects oppression in a different manner from a different camera angle. That's all it has done from the 60s to present day. So it's people will say, yes, there's a few more people on TV and such, and yes, there's one black billionaire or something nonsense like that. Yes, everybody will use that and hold that up. But things have not really changed that drastically. Definitely not there. But I've heard a few people from the UK like chime in. Like they were talking about, oh yeah, it's terrible over there. But what about over in the UK? Is it much better? Because this is where we're from. So yeah, we can speak about the States, but still we're not from America. I've only been to America twice. We know a lot about it, of course, because that is the lens most people, that's the lens most people see black people through. It's either like the States or they have this very, very retroactive view of Africa. And basically those are the only two lenses that most of the world sees a black person through. But the UK, what do you believe? Do you believe it is much different in the UK than it is in the States? Is it much better? I'm certain someone says, oh, it's terrible over there. I'm glad I'm living in the UK. It's better over here. I heard that statement. What do you believe?
Mm-hmm. Right. Personally, I believe that policing in the UK can be oppressive, but it is better than what they call policing in the US. It is better. It depends on which part of the UK you are. If you're still living in some of the inner cities, it's still as oppressive as you can possibly imagine. Still there. In terms of living from the inner cities, it's still pretty much the same. I think a lot of the experiences can be shared, but I think as well, a lot of the influences from places like the US, social interactions are managed in the UK as well. Because I think this is the problem, is that America's everyone sees a lot of America, and it has a way of influencing how people behave, especially people of color in certain parts of the UK, their thought processes and things like that. You know, when I grew up in the UK, I remember one time someone ran across my garden roof. Like, what the hell? Looked out. There was a young man naked on my roof, and he was scared and whatever. And it's like, what the hell? Then he ran off. Found out it was a neighbor. And he's a young guy, and I spoke to him like, what the hell? And apparently he was scared that something was happening, and the authorities were after him. And he decided the best course of action was like not to sort yourself out, and find a more sort of like intelligent way of escaping the situation, was just to flee like a rabbit. And he just jumped out of a window and ran across rooftops naked. And it's like, watching something from, was it Bad Boys or Cops and things like that? And it's that thing is like, where were you expecting to go if you're naked, running around as a black person?
Mm-hmm. Maybe
and it was the influence. Yeah, sorry, but it was the influences.
Someone's bed.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it was just the influences of modern society, where I'm thinking to myself, at what point do you think you're going to disappear somewhere? Being a black man running naked through London town, they'll see you, whatever you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And I think
a white guy running through London town naked.
It would be.
Let's be honest.
It's not
no one.
No,
I don't think it's race specific.
No, right? No. But that's what I'm trying to say, is that like, if you're running through the town naked, like, how are you going to think of escaping? Like, at what point are you going to escape? You're gonna get done either way. You know what I'm saying? So I think for us in England, there are very, very, very much more similarities. I think the Asian community in England is now getting what we were getting years ago, in terms of being profiled by the police and stopped frequently. I mean, we still get stopped a lot. I get stopped less now because, I'm a big man. But back in the day, you'd get stopped regularly, frequently.
Yeah.
But now it's the Asian kids who are getting this happening to them a lot more frequently, where they're being profiled. Oh, someone matches your description. I love the Dave Chappelle version of it. Like, what they look like, somewhere between 4'11" and 6'8".
6'8". Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, fitting your description.
I love it. I love it. Hey, officer, he was trying to sprinkle a little crack on him. Sprinkle a little crack on him.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So it is things like that. I mean, yeah, I think things are slightly better, but I don't think they're much better. You know what I'm saying? The only thing is that the police aren't literally sort of like pointing guns in your faces every 2 minutes.
Yeah. We
had the Broadwater farm riots, and the police had to learn from that. That was a teachable moment for the police, because it was pretty much the same thing that's happened to George Floyd in the US that happened to a family in Tottenham. They were doing a raid. They wanted to find someone. This lady was in her house, and they pinned her down to the point where she couldn't breathe. Next thing you know, she's dead. People in the UK were like, "Nah, fuck that shit. You guys are going to have to understand it." And the government had the same response, which is like, "Oh, this is unlawfulness. We can't have this. We can't have this." Well, you can't break into people's yards, kill someone, and think that it's all good, and say that, it's just the police doing their job. I feel that people are just nothing. They're just like ants, and you're just going to walk over them to get to whatever it is that you want to do. Sometimes the ants have to walk en masse and start biting the hell out of people, and that's what happened.
I agree.
Died, lost his life.
I think the UK is different but the same It makes no sense what I just said, but it really is. It's very, very, so it is different just due to the fact that firearms are not prevalent in the same way as they are in the States. States, just the gun culture just amplifies everything. It really does. But we know that in the UK, this thing occurs. Remember Mark Duggan?
Yeah.
Where the riots broke out all over the UK over that period as well. So these things have been occurring on quite a regular basis as well within the UK as well. People's dissatisfactions have been taken to the streets just as it occurs in the States.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's different but the same, I would say.
Oh yeah, I think as well in the UK, I think the police force is much more learned in understanding when they have to try and use more sensitivity in order to deal with certain situations. They become more cerebral in their response. They try to be more tactical in it. It might be the same thing that it still would happen, but they're not gung-ho as much as there is gung-ho. You know what I mean? Because as you said, the Mark Duggan incident, I remember that. That was what, 2011? Something like that?
Around that period of time.
You know?
But think about why the police force in the US were even set up.
Yeah.
So
Slave catchers.
Exactly. It was the end of the horrendous practice of slavery. And they needed to make certain that black people who were freed would still give free labor. So police were basically set up to make certain that it was nonsense. It was like a black person would jaywalk. And they'd say, you've been sentenced now. You've been sentenced now. And police were set up to make certain that they could enforce ridiculous laws to make certain that they could put black people, especially in the South, back on the chain gang so they could work for free. So that's why they were set up.
Still works. The prison industrial complex. The prison industrial complex in America. And I know a lot of people still like to talk about President Obama and like and say how great he was, how good he was, but he didn't do a lot.
Just part
Let's
of the
be
system,
honest.
though,
Let's
right?
be for real.
It is
Because
part
he
of
has
the
to
system.
work for the
Yeah.
He is. I understand that. So let's really put it into perspective. You've got the prison industrial complex in America, which feeds the American military industrial complex as well. Basically, it's just chain gangs. Right? You have to, once they get you inside, you have to work for free or as part of a labor gang. They get paid now, but part of a labor gang. And these are fed by private prisons, which get subsidized by the government for the amount of people that they put in. And it's basically a meat grinder. Like it has to be fed meat all of the time. And it's the easiest meat that you could get in. Anyone living in impoverished areas. Yeah. And in particular, certain impoverished areas where you could just get those people to work all the time. And I think it's just a brutal system. It's a brutal system, and no one calls. They love the fact that it creates so much for them. Why would you want to stop something that still creates? Back in the day, it was cotton. Now it's bullets and bombs.
Justice. Are human beings ever going to just want other human beings to actually live a decent life? So that is the question. Are you going to just want are you going to look at another human being, irrespective of color, irrespective of class, all of these not things that are constructed? Are you just going to want that other person to actually live a decent life? That's the question. I know I'm coming from a different perspective. I'm a black person. So for me, I have that feeling. I know, but I have that feeling. We are privileged. I have no doubt. But it still resonates around the world. The injustice the fact that there are still prejudices that resonate to other parts of the world. So, for example, just like when you were in Guangzhou and there was all of this prejudice occurring, that spread out from these epicenters of injustice. The lies that are spread about you around the globe, the nonsense, poison propaganda, that spreads. That doesn't just stay in the US, doesn't just stay in the UK or Brazil. It spreads, it goes everywhere. So yeah, I don't know. Do people actually just want a just? Do people want a just system? Or do they just want to live well and be damned with everyone else? That's the question.
That's what it is. I think that's what it is that the reason why I said earlier that we're privileged is that we are actually privileged. Even if we get something in the countries where we live or countries otherwise or wherever it is, the reason that we have that privilege is because we've, metaphorically speaking, got our foot on someone else's throat. The reason why I don't think things will change is because conversely be equitable, where people there's an opportunity, whether you're talking about, immigration from one part of the world to the other. The reason why you have economic migrants is because people want a better life. People want a better life because where they are is not to look after their relatives and their families, so they move, and then it becomes an issue. The reason why it's always an issue, and it will always feed back, the whole system is the issue, is that for us to have that privilege, for us to live the life that we live, for us to do whatever we're trying to do right now, someone else is having their throat stepped on. There has to be some form of equality universally, and that has to be found out. But the difference is that you've got competing ideologies that are trying to outdo each other to show that who's the best, who's this, who's that, who's the other. And the net result is the people at the bottom of the pile are usually the ones who are going to be on in order to further their aims. That's it. And the people at the bottom of the pile generally are people of color.
Well, these systems, they work for what they want to work for.
Yeah.
And what they don't want to introduce, equity and fairness and like other people's right to living a life, a fair and equitable life, they don't work for that. So unless that changes, unless these systems are probably, unfortunately, they have to be dismantled. I don't know if people are going to be able to just change it from the inside out. I don't know if that's going to work because they're still going to do what they do. So we'll see. We'll see. It's been an interesting 2 weeks now since that incident. We'll see if people are really willing to make these great changes. I don't know. I've lived through many of these riots and these periods where they say, yeah, this is it. This is the tipping point. This is the thing that is going to make everyone change. And then 10 years later, we're in the same place because none of those systems that exist that are, as you so eloquently putting their knee on people's throat are ever dismantled. And they have to be dismantled, unfortunately, because the way they were constructed to put someone's knee on somebody's throat. They weren't constructed to be equitable. So unless you dismantle those systems, then it will just go back to being exactly the same thing once again. Just don't think there's a way around it, to be honest. And yeah, maybe we won't have Nike. Maybe we won't have, spotlights in our house in the same way. maybe I'll have to lose a few spots. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that's essentially what it comes down to. The whole reason that things were set up the way that they were set up is through creating some form of imbalance for a better life for a few as opposed to others. Unfortunately, it's like getting oil out of the ground. You get X amount of oil out of the ground just to make a few thousand products. You know what I mean? The raw materials are always bigger than the actual product that is created. And at the moment, sorry. Yeah.
Are you ready to go back to your old Nokia, Ray? That's what I'm asking you. These are the big questions people need to ask.
The Nokia thing, the 3310.
Yeah.
Man, that would be hilarious. I think I'd have to try that again.
You ready to go back?
I'd have to try again. I could try that again. But then again, see, this is the thing. We've lived through that.
Okay, yeah.
We've lived through that. So for us, 3310, yeah, cool. Why not? The difference is that what we're doing right now, that ain't happening on 3310.
It's gone as well. It's gone as well, isn't it?
What we're doing right now, that's not happening on 3310. You know what I mean? But then more people would have to talk to themselves. More people have to talk to each other.
These are the
That's
sacrifices.
where it comes down to.
We're going to have to make sacrifices.
But more people will have to talk to each other. That's the thing. There is sacrifice that has to be made in order for things to sort of like. Is it progress or regress? Think about it.
No, progress. I think like progression has been thought of in the wrong way. I think we consistently think about progression in a technological way and how it can make our lives easier. So that's the only progression.
It's got to be humane, and we are becoming more and more inhumane as we progress, because our lives are becoming slightly simple. No, I say simpler, but it's simpler for a reason. It's simpler so that you are more easily tracked. It's more simpler because you are going to be working longer hours for a system that's going to be making more money and putting more and more people under the boot. So it's going to be a very cyclical thing, but for that progress.
All right. So what we're saying is that we're both willing to go back to our Nokia 3310. We're both willing to do that. We're both willing to change, go back to our Nokia 3310s. Definitely.
Nokia 3310.
I don't care about clothes. I can wear, I don't care. I can show my chest all the time. I'm all good with that. So I don't give a damn about what is in your sweatshops either. So I don't care about that crap. So I'm all right. Let's walk around like, fuck it, straw. It's all good. So sweatshops are gone. We can get rid of them. Yeah. What else can we get rid of?
People will definitely have to be hitting the gym a lot more.
Well, no gyms.
No gyms.
No gyms.
Oh no. There's still gyms. So outside. Like you just make it out. Yeah, you make it out of old car axles and shit like that. You know what I mean? You be pumping real iron.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You be pumping real iron, boy. Like car rims and shit like that. Yeah. How many car rims you done today? Yeah. I didn't do none of that lightweight sports stuff. I had the old steel rims. You know what I mean? I was doing it properly.
I think this is it. To make an equitable world, we're going to have to dismantle systems that make our lives easier.
You're going to have to come backwards. Yeah, you're going to have to take a step backwards so you can see forward.
So all of these things that I'm sitting here and enjoying, I'm not going to I'm not enjoying it. I'm so used to it as well. So these things are comfortable for me. I come home.
Trappings.
It's easy. Trappings. We're going to have to use some of these.
Let me bring it around to, obviously, I like a little bit of sci-fi and whatever. There was one Star Trek that I remember watching, and I can't remember which one it was. And they were talking about the society in Star Trek, the United Federation of Planets or whatever, and they said there's no poverty. And I said, no, there is poverty. No, but we've got a perfect society. And he said, you've only got a perfect society for the people who want to be involved in that society. What about the people outside of it? Yeah, but they're welcome to join us, but they don't want to join. But they're out of the system then, so they don't get the thing. And it's like, but they still deserve to live, don't they? And that's where we are. We're in that United Federation of Planets. and everyone else who's not in that United Federation of Planets isn't sort of like getting a fair crack of the whip.
Yeah.
Because it's our system serving our sort of like, not needs, but the trappings that we have. We've got the communicator, the unit translator, blah 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 blah. But then there's other people who they know the technology and they have access to some of the technology, but we're leeching from them.
Yeah, that's the problem.
The land that they have in order to build our United Federation of Planets.
That's the problem. If the United Federation of Planets, our theoretical United Federation of Planets, was doing it off of their own back for themselves, without having to live off the torture and pain of the people who are outside of this United Federation of Planets, then fair on you. Go and do what the hell you like. Go and live in your little bubble. Do whatever the hell you like. No problems. If that's your system and that's your society, fair enough. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. It's vampirism. So the United Federation of Planets, unfortunately, leeches and destroys the other people who exist outside of their little federation. And that's unfortunate. So that's an issue. And as I said, I don't know if this change within type thing is ever going to work. I don't see it working.
No. I think we're too far along, because the same thing, the question that you asked earlier, are you prepared to give up a few things? But like I said, we've come from that generation where we could say, all right, screw it. Could do that. Could do some of that. Not a problem. No problem. 3310. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I think as much as people are looking for that revolt, will they really, maybe they'll prove me wrong, but will they really want to do it from inside? I don't think so, because they've got too much to lose from inside. It has to be external, and, you know, it may happen, but with the way that boot is firmly pressed on someone, on people's necks, there's very little chance of that happening.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, we're talking about a revolution, but that revolution, the things that come out of that revolution are going to be quite unpalatable for a lot of people. Unfortunately, it's not going to be as easy as you think. And we'll see if they've got the stomach for it. We'll see if we've got the stomach for it, because we're part of the world, and I want a more empathetic world. I want a world where it's more equitable. But if I want that, then unfortunately, I know I'm going to have to lose a lot of things as well.
Yeah.
I know this. And I'm prepared for it. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I say.
1 point. Yeah. That.
We'll see, Ray. We'll see. We've been discussing this. I think we've gone through quite a bit. We'll see where it leads, man. To be honest, we will see where this leads. Yeah. That's all I can say. Have you anything else to state about this at this moment in time, or this juncture, should I say?
No, not really. In years to come, I'd love to see a much more equitable world. In years to come, I'll say in years to come. It may not be in my lifetime, but I'd love to see a more equitable world.
I'd love to see it in my lifetime, because that's when I'm alive. I would like to see something. God damn it. For my whole entire life, there's just been this nonsense that's persisted in the background, screaming in the background on a consistent basis. Just always there. This inequity, this screaming, this prejudice, this racism, just always there. Just always insidiously touching your back everywhere you go. Just tapping you on occasions. Hey, racism's here, baby. We ain't going anywhere. You know that shit all the time. It would be nice just to creep a little bit further up that ladder of less racism in my lifetime, at least. Just for me, please. Let's make this happen. God damn it,
Mr. Creosote.
Just one more, just a little bit.
A little bit up the ladder. of less racism, of prejudice, a little bit. Let's do this. And with less racism means a more equitable world. So it all stems from these things as well. Less racism, less prejudice, more equitable world for everyone, a more empathetic world as well, because you're seeing what your actions are causing to others. It could just a little bit. Jesus.
Let's block it.
Christ. All right, Ray. That was my little rant at the end. I apologize to everyone. Maybe that was too much. Or too much. Who knows, man.
Hey, I'm sure you could have gone on a little bit further.
No, I don't want to do anymore. I already feel like that was too much. All right.
I think I've shown me underwear a bit much today. So hopefully next time we come out, we show less of our underwear.
Yeah.
Keep it.
We'll keep it moving. Hopefully we'll have another guest next time. This was just us going through the motion, like expressing ourselves about this issue. And to all the people,
it's not just a US issue in terms of how you feel and stuff like that. So it's back to front. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, it's worldwide. This equity is not a one country thing. These countries, we all exist together. So it's not one country exists by itself, and that means that it's equitable everywhere else. No way. No country is separate from the rest of the world. So yes, it affects everybody. Yep, I agree with that. All right, Ray. Thanks for coming. We out.
Pleasure, man.
We out, man.
My pleasure, man. Peace,
people. Peace.
I clipped there when I clapped.
Yeah, you did. There was a little clip, and
everybody,
the Nokia, was it 3310?
Nokia 3310.
No, Nokia 3310.
Wow,
just remember.
Look it up, man.
Look it up.
If you obviously they could do with obviously they could do with making them just slightly smaller. No,
keep it real. Keep it exactly as it was.
Yeah, mate. But the one thing you had on the Nokia 3310, you could remove the battery. Yeah, no one can follow you.
That's cool. Exactly. Did that have Snake? Which one had Snake? Did that
3310 have Snake? 3310 had Snake, man.
Exactly. Online games, you don't need online games, you've got Snake. All right, if anyone doesn't know, if you want to make a change, that's what we're going back to.
This we're going back to. Right, Nokia 3310. Right, we're not going back to the Mercury M200, the brick phone, but Nokia 3310.
That's too much.
Nokia 3310.
I want equity, but man, I wanted that much.
You know what I'm saying? Anyone listening, please look up the Nokia 3310, and that's what we're talking about.
We're out.
Anyway, thanks, guys. Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in this week. Hopefully, we gave a little bit of an insight to some of our opinions about this issue that has been plaguing our planet for centuries. Please tune in next week when we're going to have another guest. And if you could, subscribe to our Podbean platform or our YouTube channel. Have a good week.